I mean, she made it happen.
And he doesn't shy away from opinion.
And I do enjoy drinking cold beer at ballparks. So if that makes me a baseball fan, then I'm a diehard baseball fan.
It's Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
And a very good Wednesday evening to you, Jacksonville. It is Hacker After Dark, 1010XL 92.5 FM with Aaron Williams. The Hacker Ryan Green with you. Glad you are with us. A Wednesday that finds us one day closer to the National Football League draft. It's actually 3 weeks from tomorrow night. Round one up in Pittsburgh. The Jaguars, 11 picks overall, including 4 in the top 100. It is the first year in the history of the franchise that they do not have a first-round pick. So it'll be the first time in over 30 years the Jaguars are not selecting in round number 1. But, again, 11 picks overall, 4 in the top 100. So we'll certainly spend some time on that. Again, it's kind of sneaking up on us, only 3 weeks and change away from the NFL draft. Obviously, a lot of news coming out of Orlando, Florida. There was a press conference earlier today involving owner Shad Khan. You had team president Mark Lamping, Jacksonville Mayor Donna Deegan. You had a lot of constituents from Orlando, obviously. They're fired up in Central Florida. There's no doubt about that for 2027 for the Jaguars coming down to Camping World Stadium. I want to talk about that again tonight. In fact, we're going to go to Orlando in about 20 minutes or so. Alex Walker is the sports director of WFTV. That is the ABC affiliate in Orlando. And we will get a vibe from Orlando about the Jaguars coming down there in 2027. We will also spend a little bit of time on college football tonight, primarily the Florida Gators, as the orange and blue game is a week from Saturday, as John Sumrall is about to wrap up spring number 1 in charge at Florida. What has kind of come out of this spring? Is there a full-blown quarterback competition in Gainesville between Aaron Philo and Jacksonville's own Tramel Jones, who obviously starred over there at Mandarin High School? So we got a lot to do. We're glad you're with us on a Wednesday here until 10 o'clock on Hacker After Dark. Every night on HAD, we do kick it off with a big deal of the night. And Aaron Williams, let's do that right now.
Time now for the big deal of the night.
What's the big deal?
What is the big deal?
No big deal.
It is a big deal.
On Hacker After Dark.
So I've heard or seen the conversation, right, the comments about Jacksonville going to Orlando. And we talked about this a little bit last night. We kind of talked about it from a mile-high view. But there's a couple of things that I want to dive into a little bit. Number one, I think the conversation continues to go back to it was inevitable the Jaguars were not going to play here in 2027. So once you establish that as a fact, which it is, they were not ever going to play here in 2027, then you have choices of where the games were to be played. And I keep hearing Gainesville, right? Well, Gainesville would have been closer. Well, yeah, it would have been. I think that's relative. A 90-minute drive for most compared to a 2-hour drive for most. Yeah, it's probably 30 or 40 minutes closer. Again, the NFL has a lot of rules and regulations and standards when it comes to stadiums that their games are played in. The field has to be a certain distance away from the fans in the stands. The locker rooms have to meet a certain criteria. There's got to be enough room on the sidelines for sponsors, and there's got to be enough room on the sidelines for broadcast equipment and all that stuff, right? A lot of things you wouldn't even normally think about. You think about, well, a football game, if you got 11 players on offense and 11 players on defense and officials and a coaching staff, well, you can play. Well, that in theory, that's true, but that's not the way the NFL works. There's a lot of standards when it comes to where games can be played. So Orlando fit that much more than a Gainesville or than a Tallahassee. And again, Tallahassee never even really came in the conversation. there wasn't anywhere else to go, right? You're not going to go to Tampa and play in another NFL team's venue. You're not going to go to Miami. That doesn't make any sense. You're not going to go to Atlanta. That doesn't make any sense. So literally, your two options were Gainesville or Orlando. And I love Gainesville. I'm the black sheep of the family. Like every other person in my family, cousins, uncles, you name it, went to the University of Florida. I, of course, am a proud alum of the Fighting Ospreys there of UNF. So I'm the black sheep. Everybody else went to Florida. This is not an anti-Gainesville sentiment. But if you're the Jaguar fan listening right now to Hacker After Dark, and you're going to have to travel 90 minutes to Gainesville for a game in 2027, or maybe an extra 30 minutes, so a 2-hour trip to Orlando, where would you rather spend a weekend, right? Would you rather go to Universal Studios and Disney and SeaWorld, or take the trip to Tampa and go to Busch Gardens, or, any place in the Central Florida area, Legoland for those, with younger kids, and make a whole weekend out of it? Or would you rather just get in the car and go 90 minutes to Gainesville, watch the game in the swamp, and then come back? Hey, that might fit some of you. I would imagine most listening right now with families, small children, etc., you're probably like me. You think it's good that the games, plural, are going to be in Orlando.
I agree.
Right. I mean, I think the majority of people are happy about this. I think it's the vocal minority that are not. Couple of other things that I've seen floating around in the last 24 hours or so. Well, the stadium's a dump down there. Camping World Stadium's this and Camping World Stadium's that. Let me tell you something about Camping World Stadium. Now, I haven't been in probably 2 or 3 years. I went to a Pro Bowl down there a few years ago, back when it was my thing to go to WrestleMania. I kind of haven't done that in a while, but I've been to 2 WrestleManias down there. Saw some pretty good stuff, actually, in Orlando. Saw Ric Flair, Shawn Michaels, Aaron. The retirement match was at Camping World Stadium in Orlando. That was true.
Was a good one.
That was unbelievable. Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
That was something. That was like 17 years ago, too, if you can believe that.
Yeah.
Long, long time ago. So I've been to games at Camping World Stadium, the old Citrus Bowl. The lower bowl of that thing has already been renovated. It's pretty nice. I mean, is it going to be as nice as our stadium of the future? No, it's not. But it's not half bad. Now, the upper deck currently at Camping World Stadium does leave some things to be desired. But as we heard in that press conference today from Orlando Mayor Buddy Dyer and all the constituents down there, they are doing a $400 million renovation on that thing with the upper deck. They're going to connect the concourses. They're going to fill in the blank areas. I mean, there's some cool stuff going on in Orlando. Orlando also knows that this is their opportunity, that this is it. So they're going to bring out the red carpet for folks from Jacksonville. I would imagine there'll be a lot of deals. I would imagine, I don't want to speak out of turn here, but they're going to want people to come to Orlando for these games from Jacksonville. They're also going to want to show the NFL that they can sell out stadiums in Orlando. I have no doubt that for those Jaguar home games, you're going to be looking in excess of 60 to 65,000 people. Now, here's the unfortunate thing. And this is just the luck of the draw. There's nothing you can really do about this. The 2027 home schedule is going to be awesome. It includes, and again, we don't know what games are going to London yet. This is over a year away. But in theory, Miami, Tampa, and Buffalo were all scheduled to come to Jacksonville. Those games theoretically now will be moved to Orlando. And that's just the luck of the draw. That's how the cookie crumbles, right? That's the bounce of the ball. And if you're Orlando, I mean, are you kidding me? You get Dolphins, Jaguars in Orlando? It's incredible. You get Buccaneers, Jaguars in Orlando? It's great for them. And it'll be a cool environment. You get Bills Mafia coming to Orlando to take on the Jags? It's unreal. It's unreal. I say all that to say this. I sense the frustration from some, not a lot, but some, about, well, this is bad and that's bad and this is going to be inconvenient and that's going to be inconvenient. And to all of that, I say this. What was the alternative, right? If you're complaining about the game being moved to Orlando, the season being moved to Orlando in 2027, what was your alternative? Well, your alternative, I'll tell you what it was the Jacksonville Jaguars moving out of Jacksonville because something had to be done with that stadium downtown. And luckily, Shad Khan, the owner of the Jaguars, has put forth millions upon millions upon millions of dollars to keep the team here. That stadium of the future is giving the Jaguars, the city of Jacksonville, 30 plus years to know that that football team is going to remain. And I personally think you go to Orlando for those 6, 7, or 8 games. You make fun weekends out of it, as we talked about last night. I saw Jaguar Twitter talk about an Epcot takeovers, and you can do the Universal Studios thing. I guess I take it for granted because I go to Orlando so often. I would imagine most of you do as well. I don't know that, but again, it's not very far. I mean, Universal Studios, compared to where Camping World Stadium is no more than 15 minutes away. Disney World's a little farther. It's probably 30 minutes away. SeaWorld, same thing, about 20 minutes. Everything's right there in that 20 to 30-minute bubble. You go down on Friday night or Saturday, you do the family thing at the theme parks. You wake up Sunday, you go to Camping World Stadium, you tailgate. I have no doubt, the brigade, the hooligans, they'll have everything figured out by then. It'll be a cool deal. And amidst all that, in the back of your mind that come 2028, you have an absolute cathedral that will be built for you here in downtown Jacksonville. The stadium of the future. That's the big picture outlook. Don't look at this as, we got to go down to Orlando in 2027. Look at this as, well, that's going to be cool. We get to go to Orlando in 27 with the knowledge of what's waiting for all of us beginning in 2028. As I told Rick, again, I don't know if you would call it ironic or not, but if there is any downside, and again, I'm very, very anti-downside to any of this. I don't think there's much of a downside, but if you could argue anything, the timing of it is probably unfortunate because the Jaguars are going to be good for the next couple of years. You sat at Everbank Stadium through nonsense for basically the last 15 years. You had a cup of coffee in 2017. You had a cup of coffee in 2022. That's it. Every other year, the team was terrible. I mean, terrible. And now, with Liam Cohen and James Gladstone and Tony Boselli, I think last year was the appetizer for what I expect to be a really good 5, 6, 7-year run with them as the leadership of this organization. And if there is any downside whatsoever, it's we sat through nonsense here in Jacksonville to now be good and now have a limited capacity in 2026 and games moved to Orlando in 2027. But again, that's a short-sighted look at things compared to the larger picture. And the larger picture is the stability of the team here in Northeast Florida for at least the next 3 decades. I'll tell you this, too. Orlando is going to be very welcoming. Look, Orlando's like my second home. I go down there all the time. Like I said, I got family in Winter Haven, in Lakeland, in Lake Wales. I love Central Florida. I used to spend my summers down at Central Florida with my grandparents. I would go to Orlando all the time. Church Street Station, right? Downtown Orlando. I'm a Corona's cigar bar guy in downtown Orlando. Jaguar fans, I can give you places to go in downtown Orlando. It is a cool venue, and it's only about 2.5 miles away from Camping World Stadium. But the city of Orlando is going to roll out the red carpet for you. It's going to be a fantastic venue. They're doing all those renovations, and it is going to be what I think a nice partnership between the city of Orlando and the city of Jacksonville. I said this last night, and I really mean it. I know I've talked about it in the past, too. And maybe I'm a little jaded because I happen to be an Orlando Magic fan. But I think there's a lot of parallels between the Magic and the Jaguars and the city of Orlando and the city of Jacksonville. For starters, both cities only have one major team. Orlando's got the NBA, Jacksonville's got the NFL. That's it. That's the one major sport in each city. Now, you got great minor league clubs, right? Great minor league clubs. And I guess if you want to argue, Orlando, I believe, has an MLS team, but you know what I'm talking about. NBA, NFL, NHL, Major League Baseball. Orlando's got one, the NBA. Jacksonville's got one, the NFL. And both franchises and both city fan bases have been in doldrums for basically the last 15 years. The Magic haven't gotten out of the first round since Dwight Howard was there. And the Jaguars, as we said, have had a cup of coffee in 17 and a cup of coffee in 22. And aside from that, they've been awful since 2007. But now the arrow seems to be pointing up. You got Paolo Banchero and Franz Wagner and the Magic. You got Trevor Lawrence and obviously Liam Cohen leading things here in Jacksonville. Passionate fan base in Jacksonville. Say what you will about the Orlando Magic, and I'm a fan, so I have the right to say it. They've been awful for a large majority of the last 15 years. That Kia Center that holds over 19,000 people, they're right next to I-4 in downtown Orlando, that thing's full every game. The Orlando Magic fan base is unbelievable for a team that has not given them a lot to be cheerful for the last decade and a half. You got passionate fans that have supported a black hole of an NBA team in Orlando, much like here in Jacksonville. You guys, very passionate, very underrated as a fan base, that have sat through absolute nonsense that a lot of other NFL fan bases wouldn't have. So there's a lot of similarities between the two. And I understand that there's a sentiment among some Jaguar fans about some media personalities in Orlando and things that have been said. You know, whatever. This is 2026. I'm not going to talk about things that were said in 2016. There was some bitterness in Orlando. When Jacksonville got the team in 1995, you bet there was bitterness. I remember it. Again, I had family down there. They thought, the city of Orlando thought, that they were going to be the next sports team or one of the next NFL teams, NFL cities. They thought they would be Jacksonville. Now, they hadn't put plans together like Jacksonville did, and Jacksonville was much more organized, but it's only natural. You got the NBA in 1989. You got Disney World and Universal and a growing tourist economy in Orlando. They just didn't have a stadium. They didn't have the foresight that Jacksonville did. And once Jacksonville got the team, November 30th of 1993, I remember people in Orlando because I had family down there. They were pissed. But again, that was 33 years ago. That was an entire generation ago. If you talk about the young nucleus of the fan bases in both Orlando and Jacksonville now, to me, it's water under the bridge. There's an agreement that can be had, and I'll tell you this, I think it's going to be great for the Jaguars. Orlando has really been a Dolphin town, a Buccaneer town for quite some time. You want to talk about growing a fan base? You know, you grow a fan base in London, growing a fan base in Orlando, that's going to be cool, man. That's going to be a benefit to Jacksonville. And again, the drive, if you're ambitious, if you live where I do in Mandarin or certainly, in St. Johns County, if you're ambitious, good evening to all our friends in the JSO out there that are patrolling the 95 area right now. But if you are ambitious, an hour and 40 minutes from those areas, hour 45, 2 hours if you want to go 70 or 75 on the interstate, but it's not that bad.
And depends on the traffic.
Depends, yeah, sure. I mean, if there's a wreck, obviously, then but if there's a wreck in Jacksonville, you're going to be stuck as well. It's a nice drive too, and there's not a whole lot to it. You go down 95 till you hit Daytona. You go 2 miles into Daytona, you hit I-4, and bam, you go on I-4 until you see the exit for Camping World Stadium. There is not a whole lot to the drive. Again, I think it's awesome. I think it's great. I'm looking forward to it. And again, it's all over a year away. Orlando has 16 months to renovate that stadium, get their act together. We're going to enjoy 2026 here with limited capacity. Again, looks like 6 regular season home games, 2 home games in London. And then I believe the team is still going to have the Miller Electric Center, obviously. They're going to practice here, do all their stuff here. And then I presume on Saturdays for home games in 27, they'll probably get on a bus. I don't know if you're flying 140 miles. Theoretically, I guess you could. Or you could just take that 2-hour drive, get into the hotel, and that's your home field. Will it be different? Yeah, it'll be different. But different doesn't always necessarily mean bad. Different doesn't always necessarily mean awful. There are times when different can be good. Am I going to say this is going to be good? That's to be seen. But I don't think it's bad. And that's what I think some, not everybody, probably the minority, but at least some that I've seen on social media have to keep perspective on. Look big picture instead of what's going to transpire just over the next 20 to 24 months. Let's go to Orlando, Florida. Alex Walker is the sports director of WFTV in Orlando. That is the ABC affiliate down there in Central Florida. Let's talk about the reaction of the Jaguars coming in 2027. It's been positive. What does Orlando look like from a renovation standpoint at Camping World Stadium? How is the Jacksonville-Orlando relationship going to change because of this? We've talked about it from our point of view. What about from the point of view of our friends in Orlando? Alex Walker, WFTV in Orlando, joins me next on a Wednesday night here in Northeast Florida. We're glad you're with us. It's Hacker After Dark.
1010XL takes you behind the microphone.
How long have we been friends? We're not friends.
Dan Hicken and Jeff Prosser.
But if we teamed up, it could bring your career to the next level.
The Drill.
Imagine this.
Mornings on 1010XL.
Blue here for the Blue Crab House, located right off of San Jose. It's on Jewington Creek Road. They've been around since 1996. Indoor-outdoor dining. Also, takeout is available at the Blue Crab House. Open 4:30 to 9, Tuesday through Saturday. Sunday, noon until 9. Remember, Tuesday, $2 margaritas. Wednesday, $1 oyster night. How about the blue crabs? How about my personal favorite, the Canadian snow crabs? Whatever it is that you fancy, you get it right there. The Blue Crab House.
Want to show off that backyard flex? Purple Heart Pools, a veteran-owned pool company right here in Jacksonville, is offering a brand new custom pool and spa package for a flat $75,000. All in, no bait, no switch. You heard that right. Only $75,000 for a custom pool and spa. Now's the time to break ground. Game days, summer nights, and neighborhood envy included. Schedule a free consultation today at purpleheartpools.com. Purple Heart Pools, Jacksonville's veteran pool company.
Southeast Orthopedic Specialists congratulate the 1010XL Scholar Athlete of the Week.
Jada Mincy, senior cheerleader, weightlifter, and track and field athlete at First Coast High School. She's the president of the National Honor Society and has been accepted to attend FSU.
Checkmate. I'm Brendan Cecilia, founder of Checkmate Coatings.
And I'm Chester, the Checkmate Chessman.
At most companies, people start on the ground floor and work their way up to the corner office. At Checkmate, I started on the ground floor, and almost 20 years in, that's still where I am, making ground floors look awesome, one garage at a time.
Well, I started as a pawn and worked my way up to king.
No, you didn't. Some guy drew you as a king. I asked them to give you a roller, so at least you'd look like one of the guys.
Yes, I rather would have preferred a sword.
At Checkmate, I work personally with our teams to perfect the preparation and application techniques that make Checkmate floors beautiful and durable.
And I keep things classy with my adorable accent.
Beautiful floors?
Check. Guaranteed to last?
Check. The finishing touch your home deserves? Checkmate.
Transforming your floors, making them great. Checkmate.
Visit checkmatecoatings.com.
Bueller.
Stay cooler with Bueller.
Hey, pal, what's bothering you?
I've been struggling with a bit of procrastination, Jason.
You? Procrastinate?
I meant to tell you before, but I guess I, kind of put it off.
I get that.
But then you said spring is the best time to get my air conditioner checked before the summer heat hits, and I thought, what if I put that off too?
Uh-oh.
I mean, what if I wait too long to call for my spring service, and you guys get too busy with emergency repairs and new installations, and you can't spare a service tech to come do my tune-up?
Dude, put on your Bueller shades.
Whoa.
Just join the Bueller Air and Plumbing Maintenance Program. We'll call you twice a year, in the spring and the fall, to schedule your free AC tune-up. Procrastination defeated.
Hey, that's great. I really should sign up one of these days.
Stay cooler with Bueller.
Visit BuellerAir.com.
Mark your calendar for Friday, April 17th at the Yards for the second annual Birdies and Bounces, presented by the Mackenzie Noel Wilson Foundation. This premier golf and pickleball tournament brings together competition, community, and purpose for an unforgettable day on the course and courts. Proceeds benefit the Boys and Girls Clubs of Northeast Florida, helping create great futures for local kids. Register or learn more at bgcnf.org and click events. Join us for a day of fun and impact for youth in our community.
1010XL, presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. When it's game time, Farah doesn't flinch. Here's another call on the 1010XL hotline, driven by Key Buick GMC, home of the lifetime powertrain warranty.
Back here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville, your home for the Jacksonville Jaguars, and we are glad you are with us. Earlier today, a big announcement down in Orlando, Florida, as the Jacksonville Jaguars, during the renovations here for the Stadium of the Future, will play their home football games in 2027 down at Camping World Stadium in Orlando. Let's head to Central Florida. Alex Walker is the sports director of WFTV Television in Orlando, and he's always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL. Alex, how you doing, man?
Hey, doing great. It's a big day for Central Florida, big day for Orlando. This is huge news, man.
No, there's no doubt. Orlando's kind of a second home for me. I got family in Lakeland, Winter Haven, Lake Wales. I'm a Disney guy. My family, we actually just went to Disney last week. We love it down there. And look, I think it's a perfect match for Jacksonville to come down there, for the Jaguars to come down there in 2027. Looked like a ton of excitement yesterday, a ton of excitement at the press conference earlier today. Alex, what's kind of the vibe in the city of Orlando about this news that the Jaguars are coming down there in 2027?
People are jacked up. This relationship just makes a ton of sense to me. It's by the time they do their own $400 million renovation to Camping World Stadium in Orlando, it'll be NFL ready. Mark Lamping made sure to say that today. Listen, like, your renovations in Orlando is what delivered this day. And Shad Khan said Orlando's the perfect home away from home for the Jags for 2027. And from a fan perspective, there were a lot of fans wearing jerseys from Jags players all the way back to the early days of the franchise. And they're just so excited. I mean, one of the fans got emotional. They're like, I've been living in Orlando, driving up to Jags games for forever. And the fact that they're now in my own backyard and my own stadium, I can wake up on game day, go tailgate in downtown Orlando and go to the game is a dream come true. And so people are just ecstatic to host the team. I know the team feels like this is a place that'll be very receptive to an NFL franchise. And if you're the Jags, you're going to make a lot of new Jaguar fans in Central Florida, I think, over the next year and a half.
And to that point, I mean, Alex, you're the sports director of one of the biggest television stations in the Orlando area. So let me ask you, what has been the thought on the Jaguars in Orlando? Like I said, I spend a lot of time down there. I think that recently, meaning the last 5 or so years, it's gotten a little better. I know there were a lot of Miami Dolphin fans in the Orlando area, certainly a lot of Tampa Bay Buccaneer fans in the Orlando area. What is kind of the relationship with the Jaguars right now?
It's amazing how this is one of the first cities I've lived in where it is such a melting pot of NFL franchise fanhood, if you will. I mean, we have so many transplants from all over the country, right? I mean, you have a lot of people from up in the Northeast. You have a lot of Giants and Jets fans down here too. And so when you look at the relationship to the fans here, to Jags, Bucks, Dolphins, I think it's a fairly healthy split amongst those three in Orlando in terms of like how we show highlights. It's a pretty even split as well because we just have kind of little chunks of fanhoods from all three franchises. But I think this is an opportunity for the city of Jacksonville, the franchise, to look at this market and say there's a lot of fans in that area that don't really have a Florida allegiance necessarily, and we can kind of flip them to be Jags fans and wear our colors for a year and kind of adopt them for a 2027 season. So certainly split, man, but I think this is a huge opportunity for both Orlando and Jacksonville to have a really fun collaboration.
Alex Walker, sports director, WFTV in Orlando, with us here on 1010XL in Jacksonville. Alex, I brought this up last night. I'm a diehard Orlando Magic fan. My uncle took me to the Orlando Arena in 1989, and I've lived and died with the Magic for the last 35 plus years. Mainly died with them recently because they can't stay healthy to save their life. We'll maybe throw a Magic question to you here towards the end. But the parallels between the Magic in Orlando and the Jaguars in Jacksonville. Look, they're the only pro sports team in town. They've both been on downtrodden times for a majority of the past 2 decades, yet it is promising with a Paolo Banchero in Orlando and a Trevor Lawrence in Jacksonville. I think the parallels between the Magic and the Jaguars also will attract Magic fans down there to becoming fans of Jacksonville.
I think you're right too, and there's going to be a lot of cross section there too. Whenever we have crossover season, I mean, if you look at Magic fans that are also Jags fans, when you talk about the perfect sports weekend and the perfect family weekend, you can come down from Duval County, you can go to Disney with your family, you can go to a Magic game on Saturday, go to the Jags at Camping World Stadium on Sunday. It doesn't get any better than that if you ask me from a sports perspective. And yeah, there's a lot of parallels there. You have 2 young faces of the franchise that are trying to rise a boat that's been, washed up for a long time. And yeah, I think that success breeds success. And I think if you have a Jags team on the rise, hopefully it makes the Magic finally win a playoff series for the first time since 2012 or whenever Dwight Howard left. And so just hoping that good things come and good vibes come to the Magic, because they certainly need it. You're a Magic fan, you understand. It's funny, Magic fans almost enjoy the off days more than the game days because there's no stress on those days.
Yeah, I can certainly relate to that. I just wish Wagner, Suggs, and Banchero could play a game together. That'd be a nice, refreshing change. That just simply doesn't ever happen with that team. They're just completely snake bit by injuries. You mentioned Disney, Universal. Now, again, I go to Orlando all the time. For people up here in Jacksonville that maybe don't go as much as I do, Universal is, 10, 15 minutes from Camping World Stadium. Disney's a little farther than that, probably 25 or 30 minutes. But there's already people talking about 2027, Jaguar fandom takeover of Epcot on Saturday for around the world before the games on Sunday. I think the possibilities are endless with what you could do in Orlando on a Saturday prior to home games down there on Sundays in 2027.
I saw some of the Epcot takeover talk on X today, and my ears perked up. I'm like, what a fantastic idea! Drinking around the world at Epcot is such a blast. And so when we were up at the we went up to the Jags Chiefs Monday night game this past season and talked to a bunch of Jags season ticket holders. We're like, all right, are you going to be coming down to Orlando? Are you willing to make that drive? And almost all of them said, we're going to make a whole weekend out of it. Every time they have it's minimum 7 home games, right? 2027. We're going to make a whole weekend out of it. We can go to Epcot. We can go to Universal Studios. We can go to one of the many resorts, water park collaboration hotels they have down here. So for fans up there that even haven't been to Disney, give it a shot. Go to Epcot and drink around the world and then wake up and keep tailgating on Sunday. That's a dream right there.
Couple of more for Alex Walker, sports director, WFTV down in Orlando. The press conference earlier today, the Jaguars will play their home games at Camping World Stadium in 2027. I want to talk about the stadium in a moment. Alex, I won't use the word resentment, and it's been 30 plus years, but I know originally, mid and late 90s, there was maybe a disdain's probably not the right word either. It's somewhere in that vocabulary about Jacksonville because Orlando wanted to be an NFL city. And when Jacksonville got the Jaguars and Tampa Bay also obviously already had the Buccaneers, I mean, there's no way the NFL was going to put 3 NFL teams within a 3.5-hour drive here in the state of Florida. Has that gone to the wayside? Is there any talk about that anymore, or is that come and gone and people accept Jacksonville now for what it is?
It's a great question, and so yesterday at the City Hall watch party when Shad Khan came, on the camera from Phoenix and had made the announcement, we talked to a couple of the fans that were there that live in Orlando that are Jags fans that made that drive, and some of the older fans had brought that up, and they said, "Listen, I know that there was a point where we thought maybe we'd get a franchise, we didn't, but I don't think there was any resentment at all. I think it was more of a." That happened. It's part of our history. They've missed out on teams before, and they realize that let's just look at this fall as an opportunity for us to enjoy this and have this in our backyard. I mean, I talked to a father and son that said, how cool is it that a father and son, and then, the younger one just had his own son, and so him and his grandpa get to go to games in their city together as Jags fans. It's a generational thing. So I don't think there's any resentment. It's so far in the rearview mirror, but I think people are just thankful, eager. And you look at the slate. I know we don't have the entire slate yet of who they're playing, but the fact that they're going to probably host the Bucs, the Dolphins, the Bills all here, those are massive games. And they're going to sell that place out, and they're going to try to put on a show. Because as you know, the NFL and Orlando have a great partnership. They've done a great job putting on Pro Bowl games in the past. I know they've had some preseason games. So this place is familiar with the NFL. They have a great relationship with the NFL. And I know when it's their time to shine, they'll deliver.
Give us the information on Camping World Stadium. Now, from a firsthand point of view, I've been down there a couple of times in the last couple of years. I know the lower bowl has already been renovated. The lower bowl is pretty nice. I think the upper deck, obviously, last time I was there, maybe it left a little bit to be desired. But my understanding is that's what the $400 million renovations between now and next August are going to be focused around, is updating the upper deck and things along those lines.
That's correct. And yeah, so that $400 million in renovations in the Camping World Stadium. It'll be done, construction that is, by summer of 27. And people need to realize that if this renovation isn't taking place, I don't think Orlando gets the Jags. Mark Lamping made that clear today in his press conference, alluding to the fact that this $400 million price tag and what you guys are doing to the stadium in Central Florida and downtown Orlando is the reason this day was delivered to Orlando. And he mentioned, we need an NFL-ready stadium to host a team. And when this renovation is done, he thinks it'll look the part. And sure, the stadium right now, it does the job. They already attract a ton of major events, but this will just elevate that campus to a level that Orlando hasn't experienced yet. And the renderings are beautiful. They are beautiful at Everbank as well in Duval County. So I think when people look at the renderings and what they should expect with the upper deck being renovated and completely wrapped around and just sprucing up the campus, I think that when the Jags get there in 27, you're going to walk up to that place and be like, this is something that the Jags should be proud of, Orlando should be proud of, and the NFL should be glad that this is where it happened.
Couple more for Alex Walker, WFTV sports director down there in Orlando. Alex, as we begin to wrap up, I'm a Corona's cigar bar guy there in downtown Orlando.
So am I, yes, sir.
I love to go there before I head over to the Kia Center for the Magic games. Church Street Station. My uncle grew up in Orlando. I've spent many an evening in Church Street Station in my college years. As far as, bar life, lifestyle around the stadium, what can Jaguar fans look forward to? I know Church Street is a little bit of a walk. Areas around the Kia Center is really awesome. That's a little bit of a walk from Camping World Stadium. What can people kind of look forward to as far as the tailgating aspect?
Sure. I know for a fact that, from covering so many bowl games, Pop-Tarts Bowl, Cheez-It Citrus Bowl, and we had Florida State LSU. We've had some kickoff classics games, and of course, we have all these Road to World Cup matches going on right now at Camping World Stadium. The tailgating scene surrounding the stadium itself is fantastic, and so if that's the element you're looking for on game day, it's awesome. There's plenty of space. There's a lot of energy. In terms of the bars before and around, there aren't too many bars close to the stadium. There are some really good breweries. I know Ivanhoe Park Brewing has a really cool spot close to Camping World. That's a pretty popular pre-game day spot. But I know that they're formulating plans to have shuttle services from different areas of downtown to Camping World Stadium on game day come 27. That way, if fans are looking for that that bar experience and that downtown Orlando experience for a game, that'll be available, and there'll be ways to get over there pretty easy on game day. So that's pretty cool as well.
And this is a great opportunity for Orlando. I mean, it's not every day that you get an entire NFL regular season. And by the way, the Jaguars are pretty good. I mean, who's not to say that in 27 there might not be a playoff game or two down there at Camping World Stadium? I'm personally very excited about it. Again, Orlando's kind of a second home to me, so I know the excitement down there. But there's no doubt the opportunity this is for Orlando to show that they can be more than just an NBA city.
This is a huge opportunity to showcase the growth Orlando has made, because I think a lot of people look at Orlando and obviously they think of Disney, they think of Universal, the theme parks. Even for me, someone that I've lived all over the place, I'm from Pennsylvania, from the Northeast, and when I first went to downtown Orlando to Thornton Park to this area, I was shocked at how beautiful it is. If you come over here by Lake Eola, it is gorgeous. There's a lot of great restaurants. There's a chance for come 2027 for all these restaurants and bars to showcase what they've got. And I think that because the Jags are coming here, it gives them a year and a half to say, hey, listen, we have 18 months, a little less than that, to maybe have some new things pop up and really make sure things are shining and gleaming by the time the Jags come here. And that way, when the Jags leave and the NFL leaves here at the end of the season, they go, you know what? That's a place where we can even get bigger events and more marquee events down the road, because Florida Citrus Sports does a great job of landing stuff here. And I think the more and more people that see Orlando and its growth realize it's a great place for sports and much more.
All right, Alex, as we say goodbye, does Jamal Mosley need to get out of round one? And if he doesn't, what are we thinking? Mike Malone, Taylor Jenkins? What's the thought down there?
Yeah, and I've been here since Jamal got here, and I think Jamal Mosley was a great coach at a certain part in that build up to what they're trying to get to. I think he was great just to get the team to where they are now, but I think it takes a next level coach to get you out of that first round. I mean, you got to remember, you're a Magic fan. They haven't made it out of the first round since Dwight Howard left town. It's been a long time. I think at the very least, he's got to get out of the first round to survive. And I find that highly doubtful. I mean, they're going to be an 8 seed at best, 7 or 8 seed at best. And I find a really hard time that this team, as injury bitten as they've been, to go beat Detroit or Boston in a series, I don't see that happening. And this team, Jamal's a good dude. I think a lot of Magic fans, when they watch this team on tape, they realize that just the team, it seems like the team has quit on him a little bit. There's been way too many situational errors and coaching errors for him and his staff, where just inexcusable to be at this point with this team. And again, injuries are a major factor, but I think it might be time to make a change to the top here in Orlando, maybe even in the front office as well. We'll see if they go that direction.
Alex Walker, WFTV, the sports director down there in Orlando. Alex, it's a big day for you guys and your community. The Jaguars are coming down in 2027 to play their regular season and their preseason home games at Camping World Stadium. We'll certainly talk to you as the weeks and months go by. Thank you for joining us on what I'm sure has been a very busy day for you. Appreciate you, pal.
Thank you so much. See the Jags fans at Epcot. Can't wait.
Live streaming from the XL Digital Studios. Brightened by Harbor Dental Care, Jacksonville's first choice for dental emergencies.
Awaken 180 weight loss. I was in Orlando this past weekend at the theme parks at Walt Disney World with my son and my wife and my father-in-law. And I was thinking, as I was walking 21 miles in a 3-day stretch, 2 years ago, there's not a chance I would have been able to do that. I was able to do it now because of Awaken 180 weight loss and the fact that I've lost over 100 pounds on Awaken 180. And not only have I lost over 100 pounds, I've been able to keep the weight off in the maintenance program. There's no shots. There's no needles, right? There's no medication, no appetite suppressants. That's all fine and well if you do that. But then all of a sudden, when the shots go away and the medications go away, guess what? Your appetite comes back. With Awaken 180 weight loss, you gather knowledge, you get coaching, you learn why you were gaining weight, how you take the weight off, and more importantly, how to keep it off. Go to awaken180weightloss.com. That's awaken180weightloss.com, or call 844-346-1800. Guys, if I can do it, you can do it. I lost over 100 pounds. You be their next success story. Awaken 180 weight loss.
Knee deep in Duval.
Duval, Duval, Duval.
1010XL, home of the Jaguars.
Hey, Hicken here. I couldn't be any happier than to join the George Moore Chevrolet family. When I say family, I mean it. Visit their beautiful showroom today off Atlantic Boulevard. Find out exactly what I'm talking about. No pressure, just friendly help. And whether you want a car, a truck, SUV, electric, pre-owned, you name it, George Moore Chevrolet has it. And if you can't make it over to Atlantic Boulevard, no problem. MooreChevy.com is easy to navigate as any site you will try. It's never been more easy to use. George Moore Chevrolet. Together, let's drive.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm, and Chuck McDowell definitely not an attorney. This is Chuck. If someone talked you into buying something really silly and you want to get out of that silly little thing, my advice, get the facts. Call me and I'll send you our timeshare exit kit absolutely free. Inside, you'll learn how timeshare works and all your options for cancellation.
Call Wesley now for your free exit information kit. 800-791-0000. That's 800-791-0000.
Hey, it's Travis from Cannons of Jacks. Thank you for trusting us for 55 years of custom welding fabrication and vehicle towing accessories. When you need a trailer hitch for the family car, a gooseneck for the company truck, or even RV towing options, call us at Cannons. We can do a bumper hitch, fifth wheel hitch, anything for safe, reliable towing. Come to Cannons of Jacks, where service is our #1 priority and we treat our customers as we like to be treated. Check us out online, cannonsofjacks.com.
And that concludes the Joe C. Jack of All Trades show. Tune in next week where I'll be installing my own French drain.
Joe, wake up, man.
Hey, John, I must have dozed off.
We finished those projects you started.
Whoa, my seamless gutters are actually seamless.
And they're connected into underground PVC drain lines.
And my sprinklers. Wow, look at that coverage.
Next time, just call me first, Joe.
I will, but I ain't singing that song.
Clearwater irrigation
and drainage too.
Got a dent or a scratch that needs fixing? San Jose Collision in Mandarin offers expert auto body repair and works with all insurance. Family owned and locally trusted. San Jose Collision in Mandarin.
Frank Frangie here for Coil Fencing. Since 1927, Jacksonville has trusted Coil Fencing to protect what matters. And I trust them too. From tough chain link to your commercial project to sleek aluminum fencing your HOA will love, Coil does it all. Did you know that Coil can also install, service, and maintain those automatic gates that help protect your neighborhood or business? To schedule a complimentary consultation, visit CoilJacks.com. That's COYLE Jacks.com. Coil Fencing, A+ rated with the Better Business Bureau, proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Mark Watson with Hardball Creative, letting you know that Hardball now offers web stores, so your employees can order their own branded gear, and you have more time for Wordle. Check it out at hardballcreative.com.
Hardball Creative. Hardball does it all.
1010XL, presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Focused, fueled, fearless, Farah. After Dark on 1010XL.
We're going to talk with Eric Edholm, NFL.com, about the NFL draft coming up here in about 20 minutes or so. But I was thinking about this on the drive in tonight. Normally, man, we've been so head first into the draft by now in the month of April, or as we enter the month of April, that I could do just segment after segment after segment on the top 5, 10, 15, 20 prospects in the draft. Because 99% of the time over the last 30 years, the Jaguars were picking in the top 5 or the top 10 or certainly in the top 15. Very, very rarely were they not. But with this being the first time in the history of the franchise, at least as it stands right now, that the Jaguars don't have a first-round pick, I'm looking at these mock drafts, and I'm going, I know who these guys are, but I haven't spent any amount of time talking about these top 10, 15, 20 ranked prospects. I've been spending more time on the 4th and 5th linebackers who might be there at 56. We've done deep dives on Jacob Rodriguez, the linebacker from Texas Tech, or Anthony Hill Jr., the linebacker from Texas, or Trotter from Missouri, Jeremiah Trotter's son. You know, we've obviously talked about Grayson Halton, the defensive tackle from Oklahoma, or Daryl Jackson, the defensive tackle from Florida State. Mind you, every other NFL market hasn't spent one iota of time on any of these guys. They're all talking about, you know, Mendoza and Bailey and Jeremiah Love and, you know, like I'm looking here, Reuben Bain, obviously we know him, Sonny Styles. I haven't spent 10 seconds on Sonny Styles because obviously the Jaguars have no chance of getting any of these guys. And I thought about that earlier today as well during Fernando Mendoza's pro day at the University of Indiana. You know, Fernando Mendoza is going to be the number one pick, the Heisman Trophy winner. It still sounds weird to say of the 16-0 undefeated national champion University of Indiana Hoosiers. They went 16-0 last year and won the national title. He won the Heisman, and he's about to be the number one pick in the draft. That is crazy work by Fernando Mendoza. And also crazy to think that, remember, the year before he was at Indiana, he was at Cal. And yeah, he was okay, but Florida State won 2 games in 2024. 2 games. One of their wins was against Fernando Mendoza and Cal. I think Mendoza scored like 7 points in that game. He hits the transfer portal, goes to Indiana, and the rest is history. He's 16-0. He's a national champion. He's a Heisman winner, and he's about to be the number one pick in the draft. I mean, I'm not going to proclaim to be Daniel Jeremiah here, right, or any of these, you know, scouts that have done it for years and years and years on end. I don't know what to make out of Mendoza. I'll tell you a fascinating case study what will be. You talk to anybody around Fernando Mendoza, great dude. I've talked to people that covered him at Indiana. I'm using the term great. Great dude. The guy that'll stop and sign 30, 40, 50 autographs before practice. The guy that if he's out with his friends will take time for photo opportunities with fans. The guy when he's at airports will take pictures and talk to fans. I mean, he doesn't have to do any of that, but he does it. And of all places he's going to be drafted to, he's going to be drafted to Las Vegas. Can you imagine being whatever Mendoza is, 22, 23 years old, going 16-0 and winning the national championship, first one in Indiana history, winning the Heisman, about to be the number one pick in the draft, and you're getting all of that, plus, oh, by the way, tens of millions of dollars. And what city are you going to? You're going to Las Vegas. Aaron, is that going to corrupt Fernando Mendoza going to Vegas?
Not a chance. That kid is too pure, I think.
We'll see. I'll tell you a funny, you know, if it's, again, you know, you look at Max Crosby as a rookie and then look at him after a couple of years in Vegas. It's pretty funny, actually. The neck tats and everything that he's gotten since he's been to Vegas. Now, is that Vegas? I don't know. It's,
yeah.
You know, it's funny to look at, though. And people are saying, will it have the same effect on Mendoza? I have no idea. I can't imagine getting handed whatever the first overall pick gets, $25 million, and getting told, yeah, oh, by the way, you're going to Vegas, too. Are you kidding me, man? How good is Mendoza going to be? That's another question. He was phenomenal last year. I've heard, I thought this was an interesting comparison. I've heard that he is a better version of Kirk Cousins. And you say, well, Kirk Cousins, well, that wouldn't be worth the number one pick in the draft. You sure about that? Kirk Cousins is a fascinating guy to look at. If you black out the name, right? If you just look, and maybe I'm too much of a stats guy, maybe this is fantasy football guy coming out of me, but if you say Fernando Mendoza is going to be another Kirk Cousins, well, Kirk Cousins, that's not worth the number 1 pick in the draft. Look at Kirk Cousins' career numbers. You look at touchdown to interception ratio for Kirk Cousins. You look at what he's done in his career. So Kirk Cousins has thrown for 44,700 yards, 298 touchdowns to only 131 picks. He has a 67% completion percentage. I mean, you could make the argument. He won't get in, I don't think, unless he has ridiculous years to end his career. But Kirk Cousins will be in the conversation for Canton, Ohio, particularly if he gets north of 325, 350 touchdowns. If I say Fernando Mendoza, Aaron's going to throw for 45,000 yards, 300 touchdowns, and have a 67% completion percentage for his career, is that worth the number 1 pick in the draft?
Yeah.
That probably is.
I would think so. And to go back on Kirk Cousins, not only has he had those numbers, I mean, look at the guys who's been thrown to. Outside of Justin Jefferson, who has he thrown to?
It's a good point.
You know what I mean? I mean, he's a great quarterback who doesn't get the recognition that he deserves.
Some people just get stereotyped for whatever reason. For whatever reason, people think Kirk Cousins is just a journeyman quarterback, and that's kind of what he's turned into, particularly after the injury. Not a lot of quarterbacks walking around with 45,000 career passing yards. Kirk Cousins is one of them. If Fernando Mendoza is another Kirk Cousins, I think you would probably take that as an NFL career. We'll see. 3 weeks from tomorrow, likely to be the number 1 pick to the Las Vegas Raiders. Coming up next, more in the National Football League. Again, Eric Edholm, NFL.com, about 15 minutes away. Glad you're with us. Till 10 o'clock on a Wednesday night here in the city of Jacksonville. It's Hacker After Dark.
And 1010XL wants you to win our contests. We also like to share the winning. That's why we ask you to wait 30 days to win again so others get a chance to have the winning feeling. Find complete contest details at 1010XL.com.
If you are an experienced electrician looking for your next big opportunity, look no further than the Miller Electric Company, a trusted name in the industry for over 96 years. At Miller Electric, we tackle the biggest projects in the city, offering you the chance to showcase your skills on a grand scale. We believe in rewarding hard work with the best pay, top-notch benefits, and an unbeatable culture where people actually care about each other. Take your career to new heights with Miller Electric Company. Apply today at millercareers.com. Miller Electric, an equal opportunity employer.
Looking for golf that doesn't feel like golf? Welcome to Pine Royale, Callahan's new golf entertainment destination. Play a 9-hole par 3 course, compete in TrackMan-powered driving bays, and get ready for all-new 18-hole mini golf coming soon. As the sun goes down, the course lights up. Add in great food, a full bar, and space to hang with the whole crew, and suddenly golf feels a whole lot more social. Search Pine Royale Callahan and come play today.
From the tee to the green and everywhere in between. Join Dan, Jeff, and PGA pros for Brunch with the Tour. Teed up by Clearwater Irrigation, Tuesday morning at 8:30 on Jacksonville's Golf Station, 1010XL.
Have you or someone you care about been arrested or had their driver's license taken away? I'm Susan Cohen, and I work with David Robbins at the law firm of Epstein & Robbins. We are experienced fighters for those charged with DUI and all criminal offenses. I've been named the best DUI attorney in the state, and David has been named the best criminal defense lawyer in Jacksonville. In your battle with the justice system, there is only one thing you need to know. Dial David 24/7 at Epstein & Robbins, 354-5645.
Get ready for spring turkey season at Green Acres Sporting Goods. Find shotguns trusted in the field from Browning, Beretta, and Benelli. Plus, the newest bows are ready to test shoot from Hoyt and Matthews. For over 55 years, Green Acres Sporting Goods has helped Northeast Florida hunters gear up with confidence. Stop by Green Acres today at the corner of Normandy and Hammond Boulevard, or shop online anytime at greenacresporting.com.
1010XL, presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Still, present, ready. Farah doesn't flinch. This is Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
Halftime, Hacker After Dark. 1 hour down, 1 hour to go. We'll take you up till 10 o'clock as we do every night right here on 1010XL and on 92.5 FM. For you Orlando Magic fans in the audience, I am one, although I've, I guess in the last couple of weeks, I find myself more turning into Randy Quaid from Major League 2. You're all garbage, all of you. Back up the truck, back it up. I have kind of gone anti-Orlando Magic, even though I'm such a diehard fan. They're at home tonight playing the Atlanta Hawks. Franz Wagner has returned to the lineup. Orlando is down 102-76. Keep in mind, they are at home against the Atlanta Hawks. Decent Hawks team, but you probably shouldn't be losing by 26 at home. But here's your fascinating stat of the evening. Let's look at the three-point shooting percentage for the Orlando Magic tonight. Paolo Banchero, 0 of 1. Franz Wagner, 0 of 5. Wendell Carter Jr., 0 of 2. Jalen Suggs, 0 for 5. Jamal Cain, 0 for 2. Tristan Da Silva, 0 for 1. Desmond Bane has hit 2 of them. He's 2 for 6. That is a combined, this is an NBA basketball team. And a one that's spending hundreds of millions of dollars on their roster. They are 2 for 23 from three-point range tonight. 2 for 23 for the Orlando Magic. That is 9%. They are shooting 9% from three-point range and are losing by 26. Keep in mind, remember Toronto a couple of nights ago went on a 31-0 run against Orlando. It was the biggest run for a team that be scoreless compared to a team scoring at will that the NBA has seen in decades. Well, tonight, Orlando was the victim of a 16-0 run by the Atlanta Hawks. Season could not get over soon enough. The new coaching staff could not get in there soon enough. They need an entire overhaul down there with Orlando. How embarrassing, humiliating that an NBA basketball team, a professional basketball team at home is 2 for 23 from three-point range, shooting an absolutely pathetic 9%. That is disgraceful. As an Orlando Magic fan, holy crap. That is just absolute nonsense. Eric Edholm, NFL.com, talking draft. That always make me happier. That's next on Hacker After Dark.
Hey, this is Derek Trucks on my hometown station, 1010XL, 92.5 FM.
I'm here with Danny Van Sickle, director of the Electrical Training Alliance. Danny, tell me about your program.
Hey, Rick, we're a 4-year electrical apprenticeship. Our students start out making over $40,000 a year, and right now make over $90,000 a year, including benefits. There is no tuition or student debt. You just have to apply and get accepted.
Did you say no tuition and no student debt?
You heard that right, Rick. Once you're accepted to the program, your only cost for the books and the course fees, about $800 a year.
That sounds like an amazing opportunity. How can I learn more?
Just go to etajax.org and you can apply there.
Apply by May 14th.
This is Mark Nato. My son Justin injured his hand playing baseball for JU. Southeast Orthopedic Specialists performed surgery just a few days later, and within 5 weeks, he was cleared to play in the ASUN baseball tournament. Our family has trusted Southeast Orthopedic Specialists for years. For any orthopedic injury, let Southeast Orthopedic Specialists take care of you too.
Relieve pain and get back to life. SOS. Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
WJXL AM Jacksonville Beach. WJXL FM Jacksonville Beach.
The Clay County Fair turns 40 this year. 4 decades of crazy rides, live music, great food, and Team 1010XL's food eating contest. It's your main man, E.T., and I'll be looking for you April 2nd through the 12th. Learn more at claycountyfair.org.
Jacksonville, you're on the clock. When your oil change is due, don't waste your pick sitting at a dealership. At Valvoline Instant Oil Change, there's no appointment needed. Just pull in, stay in your car, and in 15 minutes, you're done. That's a smart pick. With convenient locations, a 4.7-star national rating, and named #1 quick lube for customer service by Forbes, Valvoline is the easy choice. Make the right call. Valvoline Instant Oil Change, your first-round pick for service.
1010XL, presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. When it's game time, Farah doesn't flinch. Here's another call on the 1010XL hotline, driven by Key Buick GMC, home of the lifetime powertrain warranty.
Back here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville, your home for the Jacksonville Jaguars, and we are glad you are with us. Boy, the NFL offseason, man, just moving right along. We're basically into the second, if not the third wave of NFL free agency. The NFL draft is less than a month away, and believe it or not, teams start going back to work, at least the teams with first-year head coaches, in about a week and a half's time. There's a lot to get into with that. Eric Edholm, NFL.com, does a terrific job covering the National Football League and the NFL Draft, and Eric's always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL. Eric, how we doing?
Doing well. What's going on?
Hey, man, we certainly appreciate the time. All right, you and I haven't spoke since the season ended, and obviously it's been an interesting offseason here in Jacksonville. Not a lot of arrivals in free agency, but certainly some departures. What's been your biggest takeaway of what the Jaguars have done over the last couple of months?
Yeah, I mean, I think keeping some of their key guys like Monteric Brown was important. You know, obviously they made a big move at the trade deadline a year ago that you could fold into this offseason if you want. I mean, that's the benefit of doing it, you know, a move like that in October, November or whatever. So, you know, it always felt like it was going to be one of these off seasons where, you know, it wasn't going to be as dramatic as last year. I think they had to be patient, and, you know, ETN, I think a lot of people felt like was going to be moving on. Devin Lloyd, you know, it wasn't shocking that they didn't retain those two guys, you know, a couple other pieces. Yeah, I think overall it's going to be fascinating to see how they use all those picks. I know no first rounder, but enough ammunition to get what you want if you want it.
11 picks in the draft, including 4 in the top 100. Eric, you mentioned the departure of ETN. The Jaguars do have Bashal Tutin, LaQuint Allen Jr., and Chris Rodriguez from the Commanders was brought in. He's a guy that averaged 4.5 yards a carry last year, had 500 yards and 6 touchdowns. Talking to people in Washington, they don't really understand why Cliff Kingsbury didn't give him the ball more last season. What's your take on Rodriguez, and is Rodriguez, Tutin, and Allen enough to offset the departure of Travis Etienne?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think they could probably add one more. I don't know if it's the most pressing position, but I wouldn't be shocked by one more. Obviously, you know, the two guys they drafted last year, Tutin and Allen, you figure are going to get opportunities. Certainly Tutin, given that he was the higher pick. Rodriguez was interesting coming out. He was such a hard-running guy in college, and you know, powering through contact and gaining extra yards. I don't know if there was a lot of creativity. There was some fumbles at some point that kind of hurt his cause a little bit. So kind of a one-note guy in some respects. It wasn't used a ton as a receiver, but what he does pretty well, and I think could end up being a pretty good compliment to you know, to a speed guy like Bashal Tutin.
Eric Edholm of NFL.com. The Devin Lloyd replacement is going to be a little more complicated, Eric. Ventrell Miller is on the roster. Also a couple of young guys, Jack Kaiser and Branson Combs. I guess the question is, do you believe Lloyd's replacement is already here, or do they need to find Lloyd's replacement in the draft?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's more likely that they can do both. I mean, obviously it's probably going to be Kaiser's opportunity at some point. You know, you'd have to think that he gets a chance. Was obviously a big part of a Notre Dame team that made a national championship game, and you know, kind of a self-made guy in some respects, very smart. I think would be an interesting play there. Miller, obviously another former fourth rounder who's had his moments in the league. But yeah, I mean, I could see them certainly looking at linebacker at some point, and it's a good year for it. I think it's a good class. I mean, you know, they're probably out of the running for there's going to be a batch of guys that go kind of early on day 2. And I don't know if they quite, when that run starts, but Anthony Hill Jr. from Texas, Jacob Rodriguez, Texas Tech, Jake Golday from Cincinnati, I like a lot. Josiah Trotter from Missouri. This is kind of I don't want to say an old school throwback draft in some respects, but the linebacker group and is a good one. And I think with the league, you're seeing more run game out there. You're seeing it cycling back in. These linebackers may have a shade more value than I think a lot of people realize.
I want to talk about the draft class in a moment, but rewinding back to last year, look, we only saw 7 games of Travis Hunter, and we never even saw Caleb Ransaw, the 3rd-round pick out of Tulane, who got hurt in the preseason. Obviously it appears Hunter's going to play primarily defensive back. That's at least the rumblings. We'll see how Ransaw fits in, but certainly I would think those 2 young guys might affect what Jacksonville does in the draft coming up next month.
Yeah, they're in a way they're 2 sort of bonus picks and obviously helping a position that I think they could stand to have some more bodies at. So I mean, Ransaw was an interesting guy coming out of Tulane, great speed, average size and length. It was played with a temperament, that was tangible. You could feel it out there. He had a presence to him. Can factor as a nickel or possibly an outside guy. I thought he was a good tackler in college too. Obviously we know what Travis can do. I mean, well, we suspect we know what Travis can do, I think, and how they utilize him is going to be fascinating. Obviously, it does feel like you said there's been kind of a shift in what they expect him to do, but yeah, kind of a nice little added bonus for 2 guys that they were clearly counting on last year and only got so much out of.
And you could almost lump Wyatt Milam in there as well. We only saw 5 games of him towards the end of the year, so their top 3 draft picks from last year all are going to be healthy and all will be counted on in 2026. Couple of more for Eric Edholm of NFL.com. All right, Eric, as you mentioned, no first-round pick for the Jaguars, but what they do have are 11 picks overall, including 4 in the top 100. And I've been told, and I want to ask you because you've done this for a long time, that maybe 15 to 18 projected first-round grades on guys, but perhaps the meat of this class is indeed there in day 2 in rounds 2 and 3. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, and I think we end up saying some version of this almost every year, but I don't think it's untrue. I mean, I think you're seeing fewer of these blue chip guys come out, fewer underclassmen come out early. The last 2 draft classes have been a little leaner at the top. But yeah, I don't believe this is a class that you're desperately trying to get into the top 15. I don't think it's one of those years where you're thanking the maker that you landed a high pick. I mean, again, if you have one, it's great. There's some good football players, but to your point, I think at certain positions, there's going to be a nice layer or 2 of depth. Edge rusher. I don't know about offensive tackle, but certainly receiver. I think linebacker, safety even has some depth. Tight end. There's some thinner groups, obviously quarterback, running back, I don't think is terribly deep. I mentioned the O-line. I think there's a point where everything kind of expires. D-line, interior guys, a little leaner too, but certain positions I think are going to be real strong in that area. And I believe front 7 makes a lot of sense. I have a feeling that when their first pick comes around, whether they're sliding up a little bit or staying in the 50s, I think front 7, corner, maybe O-line, those are all pretty strong positions in this draft too.
You mentioned front 7. Let me ask you about a couple of interior defensive linemen, 2 local guys first. I don't think Caleb Banks is going to be there at 56, but I was certain he wasn't going to be until that foot injury. And that's like the 3rd foot injury for Caleb Banks. Is that going to scare some teams away?
I think it will. I mean, we don't have a ton of tape on him. He played a handful of games last year early and then, came back and played the 1 game against LSU and then came back. And, you give him points for getting back on the field. And, boy, I thought he really turned things around at the Senior Bowl, too, kind of a nondescript day 1. And then all of a sudden, day 2 and 3, you really felt his presence out there. It looked like somebody who could be a first-round pick, but as you pointed out, the foot injury news is what's most concerning, is that, this thing hasn't really gone away. And, I mean, there have been scarier medical cases out there, but I think you have to be a little bit concerned. I mean, as somebody who sometimes these injuries can drop you a full round. So if he was a late first rounder at some point at his best, maybe he's a late second rounder now. So you never know.
Another local guy that people are all over the board. Some people really like him. Some people are really lukewarm on him, is Darrell Jackson out of Florida State. What's your thought there?
Yeah, boy, he is a big dude. I mean, it's pretty impressive to see him in person. He got the call up to Mobile and clearly a large human being with massive hands, great length, passes the eye test for sure. I would say technique-wise, there's a little bit of cleanup to do, but when you're that big and you take up that much space and you move as well as he does for that size, even with some stiffness, there's something to work on there. I think, you'd like to see a little bit better production, but there's a starter kid in there to work with for sure. And so, the intrigue probably starts in the middle of day 2, and he's one of those players that could go mid-second to early 4th, I think. It's hard to really gauge his value, but D-tackle gets a little thin after a certain point. I like it at the top. I think it's okay in the middle, and I think after that it thins out quicker.
I mean, the Jaguars didn't draft this guy, but I'm wondering if Darrell Jackson, and from a local standpoint, boy, the Mason Smith factor. Does there seem to be some Mason Smith involved with Darrell Jackson? They seem pretty compatible to me, and I think Darrell Jackson's going to be a guy that's going to be a home run, or dare I say a bust, kind of like Mason Smith appears to be.
Yeah, hit or miss type of pick. I think I think both those guys you mentioned fall into that category, Banks too. And so, yeah, that's the one thing I think, D-tackle we kind of think of as one of those maybe higher floor positions. Like, can they occupy space? Can they give you a little pushback, right? They're still useful, right? They may not be sacking the quarterback or dislodging the football, but we can find a use for them. But this year's D-tackle class has a little bit more volatility to it. Even Lee Hunter, the big Texas Tech kid, had the alarmingly bad jumping drills, and everybody seems to have at least one wart to them, even if they have some fascinating potential.
Final moments, Eric Edholm, NFL.com. Final D lineman question, then I want to look big picture. A lot of mock drafts this time of year, and look, I don't know if people are just all reading the same stuff, so they're just putting this guy in Jacksonville. But Grayson Halton, the D-tackle out of Oklahoma, that seems to be a magnet for the Jaguars in either round 2 or round 3. What's your thought on him, and how does that work when he ends up on one mock draft to Jacksonville? Is that just like a copy effect at that point? Because I've seen him a lot to the Jaguars.
Are you suggesting there's groupthink in sports writing? No way. Come on, man. I don't know what you're talking about. Yeah, it happens, right? Especially after Halton was such a workout star at the combine. I mean, he really opened eyes with his athleticism and what he did. I mean, a 4.8 40, 36-inch vertical, had a good broad. His quickness drills not so hot, but that kind of the moving straight forward and penetrating into the backfield, that's really what he does. I mean, that's what he's going to make his money in the NFL on. So if you want that kind of quick, slightly undersized 3 technique, he's not small but isn't big, you know what I mean? He's relying on speed and deception and things like that. Then he's your guy. I think he's going to be an interesting player. I probably had again, I didn't sit there and break down 8 games of him or anything, but the sense I got coming into the combine was like early day 3. So he's clearly helped himself with his workouts. I think he and Zane Durant, the other kid from Penn State, were probably the 2 inside penetrators that did the best work in terms of boosting their stock.
Eric, as we wrap up, the Jaguars appear to be going heavy defense in the draft. That's at least the indication here. This is a good year for that, right? As you mentioned, linebackers, safety, potentially edge. There's a lot of depth in those places.
I think so. Yeah. I mean, there isn't a defensive position this year that I have major questions with. I think edge is probably the strongest. I like the linebacker group a lot. I think there are going to be 6 or 7 who end up being very, very good. I mean, at least above average, good to very good starters. And then another, 8 or 10 that end up sticking as solid starters or very good reserves or something like that. So safety, 3 at the top, another 3 to 5 that I think could end up in the top 100. Cornerback, maybe a little top heavy, but there's more depth than last year, if I recall. I'd have to double check, but it feels like there are options on day 2 for Jacksonville and other teams. So, it really all 3 levels, I think, have some kind of hallmark on the defensive side. I don't, teams like Jacksonville with that idea, Cincinnati, Dallas. I'm not saying they're all bad at defense. I'm just saying those are the teams that are coming in with a defense-first mentality. They're going to be pretty happy with the returns, I suspect.
Eric Edholm, NFL.com. Eric, 60 seconds, final question. James Gladstone, about 2 weeks ago, made some news about the whole idea of compensatory picks when losing Devin Lloyd and Travis Etienne. Now, he learned from Les Snead in L.A., and the Rams have been living off of comp picks for a long time. I don't know if it rubbed people the wrong way, but it got people's attention to be so fired up about acquiring comp picks after losing guys like Etienne and Devin Lloyd. What's your thought on Gladstone's philosophy? Because the Jaguars do have 21 now draft picks over the next 2 drafts.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it's smart, right? Look at how Eric DeCosta and before him, Ozzie Newsome, did things in Baltimore. I mean, there was a point at which they reached 100 career supplementary or compensatory picks, before the next team had something like 75. So they were always ahead of the curve on that. Like you said, the Rams have kind of adopted that philosophy, and now obviously the Lions and Jaguars, 2 teams with kind of Ram acolytes, if you will, are carrying that forward. It makes sense. I mean, if you're not going to re-sign a free agent in a year's time, and or in that, ahead of time you're going to do it, you kind of factor that into your equation a little bit, and you are maybe more willing to take a risk with trading other picks, knowing you're going to let those guys go and you're going to have them on the back end. So either trade them or factor in the 1 year wait, and you're going to get your picks as long as you meet the criteria for net losses in free agency. So look, I think there's a reason the system's in there. People exploit it, take advantage of it. Other teams are more aggressive. They don't feel that waiting is worth it. And that's why I love this league. There are different ways to approach roster building and all that. So I had no problem with what he said.
Eric, tell the good folks here in Jacksonville, NFL.com, and the coverage you'll have as the draft approaches.
Yeah, that's it. We got a mock, a top 100. I'll have another version of each before the draft in April. And ideal top 2 picks for every team. That'll be good for Jags fans who are tired of seeing those mocks without a pick next to their team. So I'll have that coming out next week, and some mock trades that I'm cooking up, and we'll do our best.
Eric Edholm, NFL.com. Eric, I know how busy you are this time of year. Thank you for taking time out, and we'll talk soon, pal.
All right, looking forward to it. See ya.
What's going on here? What is this?
It's 1010XL.
We can't quite understand you.
1010XL.
Blue here for the Blue Crab House, located right off of San Jose. It's on Jewington Creek Road. They've been around since 1996. Indoor-outdoor dining. Also, takeout is available at the Blue Crab House. Open 4:30 to 9, Tuesday through Saturday. Sunday, noon until 9. Remember, Tuesday, $2 margaritas. Wednesday, $1 oyster night. How about the blue crabs? How about my personal favorite, the Canadian snow crabs? Whatever it is that you fancy, you get it right there. The Blue Crab House.
Bueller. Stay cooler with Bueller.
Hey, pal. What's bothering you?
I've been struggling with a bit of procrastination, Jason.
You? Procrastinate?
I meant to tell you before, but I guess I, kind of put it off.
I get that.
But then you said spring is the best time to get my air conditioner checked before the summer heat hits, and I thought, what if I put that off too?
Uh-oh.
I mean, what if I wait too long to call for my spring service, and you guys get too busy with emergency repairs and new installations, and you can't spare a service tech to come do my tune-up?
Dude, put on your Bueller shades.
Whoa.
Just join the Bueller Air and Plumbing Maintenance Program. We'll call you twice a year, in the spring and the fall, to schedule your free AC tune-up. Procrastination defeated.
Hey, that's great. I really should sign up one of these days.
Stay cooler with Bueller.
Visit BuellerAir.com.
1010XL, presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Focused, fueled, fearless, Farah. Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
Thank you again to Eric Edholm, NFL.com. The NFL Draft 3 weeks from tomorrow night, at least round number 1 up in Pittsburgh, April 23rd, 24th, and 25th. Changing gears to a little college talk now. A couple of national stories. The main one, you see Bill Self in Kansas is going to remain as the head coach of the Kansas Jayhawks. By the way, the whole April Fool's thing in sports, look, I like to have as much fun as the next guy. The April Fool's stuff has gotten ridiculous on social media. Like, all these stories came out today, and I had to, like, triple check and quadruple check to make sure they were real and they were not April Fools. Why Bill Self would announce that he's coming back on April Fool's Day is anyone's guess. I don't know. But apparently he is. He's taken, 2 weeks, basically, 2.5 weeks since Kansas was eliminated, and he is reportedly coming back. So North Carolina is open. Kansas apparently is not coming open. But the talk about North Carolina is they're waiting for Tommy Lloyd from Arizona. Would he really leave if he wins the national championship? If Arizona, and they might be the favorite, it's either them or Michigan, if they win the national championship on Monday night, would you up and leave then and go to North Carolina after a title? Man, that would be crazy, but that might be the case. It certainly appears that North Carolina, at least reportedly, is zeroing in on Arizona coach Tommy Lloyd. We'll ultimately see what happens. Of course, the Final Four is Saturday. The first game, Illinois and UConn. The second game, Michigan and Arizona. And, of course, the two winners will then take on each other Monday night for the college basketball national championship. Florida has gotten some good news in the last couple of weeks with some guys that have announced they are returning, including Boogie Flan, Urban Klabsar, Isaiah Brown among them. Still waiting for word from Condon and Chinulu and Houck. We'll talk about that. We'll also talk a little Gator Spring football. The orange and blue game is a week from Saturday as Florida is starting to wrap up spring number 1 under head coach John Summerall. Let's talk about all of it with Graham Hall, 24/7 Sports, Swamp 247. He's one of our guys in Gainesville, and he joins us next on a Wednesday night here in Northeast Florida. We're glad you're with us. It's Hacker After Dark.
In the unbelievable 1010XL.
I can't believe it! I can't believe it!
We're hearing is believing.
Unbelievable!
Been in a car crash? I'm local attorney Rick Alexander, and I've made it our mission at the Alexander Law Practice to listen to you so I can fight for the best possible result for you. I've been practicing over 30 years, and our team focuses on guiding you through the entire process. And because fees and reimbursement costs come out at the end of the case, I will never ask you to come out of pocket. For a free review, call 904-400-6600 or log on to alexanderlawpractice.com, Jacksonville.
Are you looking for a place to outfit your truck or van? It's Catlin Truck Accessories. For 105 years and 4 generations, Catlin is the name you can count on. This is Keith Catlin, and we know trucks and vans too, from Lear toppers, ladder racks, van shelving, strobe lighting, roll and lock bed covers, and everything in between. If you want quality products and great customer service, there's only one name. It's Catlin.
Who can you count on? Count on Catlin.
For 105 years, you can count on Catlin.
Catch Gators baseball all season long on 1010XL. Pitched by the personal injury attorneys of Farah and Farah, Randy Marion Cadillac of Jacksonville, and Renewal by Anderson Custom Windows and Doors.
Did you know that an annual coating inspection can extend the life of your building by years? Catching early signs like hairline cracks, fading, and moisture intrusion helps prevent costly repairs down the road and keeps your property looking its best. Our team at Performance Painting helps you stay ahead of maintenance with professional inspections and long-lasting coating solutions. Protect your building, protect your budget. Go to performance-painting.com to schedule a free inspection. Performance Painting, repair, protect, preserve.
Performance Painting.
What Jacksonville Jaguars player has scored the most touchdowns?
Southern Oak Insurance is proud to continue offering coverage statewide. Financial stability makes Southern Oak Insurance a wise choice for your homeowner's insurance needs. Log on to southernoak.com.
Our family protecting yours. Southern Oak Insurance.
With 81 touchdowns scored in his career, Maurice Jones-Drew is the all-time touchdown leader for the Jaguars. Fred Taylor is second with 70.
Southern Oak Insurance.
In a sea of big box corporate chain jewelry stores here, Beard's Diamonds is a refreshing alternative.
I grew up in Jacksonville, and we have been shopping at Beard's for over 2 decades.
Meet Richard Skinner. Richard's journey with Beard's started when nobody could even come close on the engagement ring he wanted.
We did shop around that stone and that particular setup with different jewelers, and Beard's was able to come in significantly lower. It was a no-brainer.
Since then, he's become another voice in the word-of-mouth advertising that has made Beard's stronger than ever.
I have referred my friends and sisters and brothers, and they have all had a very, very pleasurable experience at Beard's. The selection is great. The staff is awesome. It's a well-run business that really does care about their clients and their customers.
And unlike the others at Town Center, Beard's is a locally owned family jeweler.
The fact that they're locally owned, it does give you a little bit more personal experience. They actually have a desire to better the city of Jacksonville.
Beard's Diamonds. Online at beardsdiamonds.com.
When you're hungry, go big, and more importantly, go to Dailies, where they got anything and everything to tantalize your taste buds and fill you up. At Dailies, our barbecue beef brisket sandwich is slow smoked to perfection, tender, juicy, and full of bold flavor. It's the kind of sandwich that truly satisfies. Try the barbecue brisket sandwich at Dailies. Meanwhile, some favorites never go out of style. The Duval sub at Dailies is stacked, loaded, and made with the bold flavor you want in every bite. Fresh ingredients, big taste. It's a local favorite. Grab the Duval sub today at Dailies. Or maybe you just want a delicious chicken sandwich. Some choices just work. The chicken sandwich at Dailies is crispy on the outside, it's juicy on the inside, and it is full of flavor. Perfect for lunch, perfect for dinner, perfect anytime hunger hits. So grab the chicken sandwich today at Dailies. Dailies is made fresh, it's made local, and Dailies is built for big appetites. I'll see you there today.
Jacksonville, you voted, and Baker Glass came out on top. The Bold City Best Awards are all about locals choosing their favorites, and you picked them for Best Auto Glass and Best Glass and Mirror Service.
I'm back with Baker Glass. No one treats you better.
Frank Frangie here. Nimnick Chevrolet is proud to be a 9-time Chevrolet Dealer of the Year recipient, the only dealership in Northeast Florida to ever win this prestigious award. Well, it's earned by treating customers with courtesy, respect, and fairness, all part of Nimnick's Treating You Right guarantee. Now look, I've been buying my cars from Nimnick forever. That is a true story. I started in 1982 buying my cars from Billy Nimnick Jr., God rest his soul. He taught me how to buy a car, and I've been doing it ever since. I trust my friends at Nimnick. They care about the community. They care about their customers. They do it right. They've supported our charity, Walk Off Charity, so many times. I really do appreciate them. If you want to buy a car, you want to be treated right, not just when you buy the car, but after the sale as well. Well, that's what they do. They care about their customers, they care about this community, and they care about treating you right. So who has put in the most years and stands behind a better experience? That answer is simple. Nobody but Nimnick. Visit their showroom off Cassett or go to nimnickchevy.com. Chevrolet, together let's drive.
1010XL, presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Still present, ready. Farah doesn't flinch. Now, the Monahan's golden moment. Monahan Jewelers in Atlantic Beach, your local family jewelers.
Back here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville, we are glad you are with us. Spring football for John Summerall and the Florida Gators beginning to wind down. The spring game in the not-too-distant future as we'll wrap up spring year number 1 for Summerall, and then all eyes will begin looking to the fall for this Gator football team and the baseball team. just pulled off a pretty good sweep of a very good Arkansas baseball club. We'll talk about that. And then finally, basketball, still kind of the wounds haven't healed from losing to Iowa. But some good news for the basketball program as a lot of guys have announced they're returning for next season. Let's dive into all of it with Graham Hall, 24/7 Sports, Swamp 247. Graham's always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL. And Graham, I believe a happy belated birthday to you is for the occasion. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing great. I appreciate it. I'm just now hitting my prime here at 33 years old. Feels like just a minute ago, though, I was at the University of Florida getting started in journalism. And it has been just a whirlwind. Always a pleasure to talk all things Gators with you, whether it's football, basketball, baseball, you name it. It's always a pleasure, man.
And there's certainly a lot to dive into. Quickly for baseball, I don't want to run out of time. Boy, you get swept by, I believe, Alabama, and people were really wondering what's going on. Then they beat Florida State over here in Jacksonville, and then they go sweep Arkansas, a top 10 ranked Arkansas team. Clearly a very good week and a half for the Gator baseball team.
Yeah, the first 6 weeks of this season have been much better than last year's season unfolded. You know, you get the series against Miami. You know, they didn't play that third game, had a chance to sweep the Canes, but you take the first two games, you beat both of your in-state rivals in the season series in Miami and Florida State. You got to feel really, really good. And then go back to last year. Florida didn't pick up their third win in SEC play until right around the middle of April. I mean, they got swept on multiple occasions to start the SEC slate, and people were feeling really, really down about their chances, and they still end up making an NCAA regional. This team, with improved pitching, a little bit better hitting as well, some more depth that they added via the portal, has been off to a really, really good start. Yeah, you mentioned they got swept at Alabama, but, you know, that's a really, really good Alabama team. You know, you look at the rankings, the Crimson Tide have made a really, really nice rise as of late here. You go on the road and then beat a top 5 team. And in Arkansas, you don't just beat them, you sweep them. And to do it the way that Florida did was really impressive. Things can change very, very quickly. At this time last week, before taking on Florida State in Jacksonville, and then before going up to Fayetteville, Florida had dropped out of the top 25. Now they're back up to number 14. So a lot to feel better about compared to a week ago. A lot of baseball still to be played. This team is going to have to continue rolling, going to have to avoid the injury bug. They lost Cash Schreier, and they're going to make sure that they, you know, try and get him back here before the season comes to a conclusion. But this team looks like in a much better place than they were compared to a year ago. Again, got to keep rolling, but a lot to feel good about, even though there's some area for improvement for Kevin O'Sullivan's team.
Graham Hall, 24/7 Sports, Swamp 247, covering the Florida Gators. Quickly to basketball, Graham. Obviously, the wounds are still fresh from what happened about a week and a half ago in the loss to Iowa. But since that game ended, some good news, right? You find out that Isaiah Brown and Urban Clavsar and Boogie Flan have all announced their intention to come back. Alex Lloyd as well. We're obviously still waiting on the big shoes to drop with news for Chinyalu, Houck, and Condon. We'll get to them in a moment. But with Brown, with Flan, with Clavsar, with Lloyd, certainly a good start to the offseason. Those guys will be back next year.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the Boogie Flan was probably the most important piece of the guys that were, I don't want to say maybe easily attainable, but guys you had a really good chance for getting back. You know, Boogie Flan was a highly paid transfer coming in. He was the number 8 transfer, I believe, in 247 Sports' rankings a year ago. Didn't have the season that many people expected on the offensive end. His defense, I think, was a little bit underappreciated because people were focusing so much, and rightfully so, on the inefficient shooting. He only shot around, 24% from three-point range, about a 10% drop from where he was as a freshman a year ago. He comes back to Florida and has a chance to do what he hoped to do this past season, which is turn himself in to a future NBA player. Remember, he tested the NBA draft waters last year, pulled out, comes to Florida. If he can improve his outside shooting, finish around the rim a little bit more, I think this is a guy who understands that he can make himself some serious money. And the college years are the best of your life for a lot of guys. You know, no harm in coming back for your junior season, spending one more year in Gainesville and trying to improve your draft stock. And then you get Urban Clavsar back, the SEC Sixth Man of the Year, a guy who improved a ton on both sides of the ball this past season. I thought his defense was maybe the arguably the biggest leap that he made. I mean, he was guarding Bennett Sturts in the Iowa game that no one wants to remember. If he had done that a year ago, he probably would have got cooked, if we're being quite honest. He did a great job on Sturts, keeps his man in front of him, was Florida's best three-point shooter. I think he hit more than 70 three-pointers this past season, and he played in the NCAA tournament with a banged-up thumb on his shooting hand and still knocked down, I think, 3 three-pointers combined in the game against Prairie View A&M and then against Iowa. You get him back. Will he contend for a starting spot? There's going to be a competition in the backcourt, certainly, and then we'll see what Florida does in the transfer portal when it opens a week from Monday. You get Klabsar back, who averaged more than 9 points per game. He's going to probably look to make a leap. Is he going to step into a starting role for Florida, or is he going to play just more minutes off the bench and be the sixth man of the year once again? We'll find out. You get Alex Lloyd back, who, let's be quite honest, expectations for him should have been probably tempered a little bit more. The Gators had a veteran in Xavier Lee. They bring in Boogie Flan. Alex Lloyd was going to have to spend the year adjusting, but there was a lot of hype for him as a top 50 prospect in this class when he signed with Florida. Didn't really have consistent minutes. Needs to get a little bit tougher, play with a little bit more aggression as well, and be just a little bit more forceful with some of his decision making. But if he can do that, this is someone who has a chance to be in the rotation next season. And then you get AJ Brown and Isaiah Brown back. AJ was, forced to redshirt this past season, was coming off a shoulder injury, never really got back into game shape in time to be in the rotation. Benefits from getting a full year in Gainesville next year. And give AJ a lot of credit. He never pouted. He was the consummate teammate. He was always there for his teammates, was the first guy off the bench jumping up when Florida made a big play. And I think he was really critical in Isaiah Brown improving in the most significant aspect of what Isaiah Brown needed to improve upon, which was his maturity. This is a guy who was a little bit immature, and not just as a freshman, but in the offseason. He got beat out of the rotation in the summer. And then CJ Ingram initially, who I expect to return to Florida as well, CJ Ingram passed him up in the rotation to start the season. He didn't give up. He didn't get upset with the coaching staff. He locked in on the defensive end and became a very, very efficient player for Florida as the eighth man for this team. I think he's going to contend for a starting role as well as a junior, someone who just made winning plays at both ends. He's got the highest vertical leap on the team. He's a great rebounder, great defender, can knock down corner threes as well. If he keeps rounding out his game, I think he'll be really, really good for Florida. And that's just the retention that we can talk about right now. What will happen with Ruben Chinyelu? What will happen with Alex Condon? Thomas Houck, not to be the bearer of bad news, but I think many people have anticipated this. It makes a ton of sense for him to go to the NBA draft. He could be a lottery pick, even if he falls outside that. If he's a first-round pick, that's guaranteed money. And I do think that maybe people don't realize, he's a junior, but he's a little bit older than a lot of other juniors out there. And when you get into the 23, going on 24, heading in the NBA draft, they use that against you. They want players who are 22 and younger, who are, in their opinion, still rounding out their game. And Thomas Houck is older. He's the age of a senior because he took that prep year up at Perkiomen School in New Oxford, Pennsylvania. So it makes a ton of sense for him to head to the NBA draft. I expect that he's played his last game at Florida. You can kind of see it on his face after the loss to Iowa. But what happens with Ruben Chinyelu and Alex Condon, two guys that have eligibility left that you could make the case for, could come back to Florida and make some guaranteed money. Now, if Alex Condon is a projected first-round pick, which I think is certainly possible after the way that he finished this past season, then I do think that he's going to be very tempted to go into the NBA draft. Ruben Chinyelu is another interesting situation. The SEC's Defensive Player of the Year, massively improved his game at both ends of the court this past season. He's got an offensive game that looks much better than it was when he was a sophomore when he arrived. Obviously, a fantastic defender who's got the quickness now and the conditioning under his belt to keep guys in front of him. But could he come back and do another year of noticeable improvement and really solidify himself as a guaranteed NBA draft pick? That is a pitch that Florida is going to keep looking to make to him as these two guys look to make a decision on their future. I imagine we have some clarity on both fronts in the next week so that Florida's coaching staff can attack the portal with a full understanding of what they need to bring into Gainesville next year to get this program back to another deep run, get back past the first weekend of the NCAA tournament after this year's season ended in disappointment, even though it was hardly what you would call a failure. You win the SEC regular season title, you get the number one seed for the first time back-to-back in program history. That is certainly success that should be celebrated. But they didn't go as far as they would like. They're going to use that loss to Iowa to fuel them. And I could imagine that it fuels the decisions of Chinyelu and Condon to potentially return to Gainesville for next season.
Graham Hall, 24/7 Sports, Swamp 247. Really quick, because I want to end with football. Literally 30 seconds. You're around that team as close as anybody. Condon and Chinyelu, yes or no? Are they back next year?
I don't think they come back, either one. I could maybe see Chinyelu. I think Alex Condon made himself some money. If he improves his offensive shooting from the perimeter, he's going to be a guy that's going to play a long time in the NBA. Ruben Chinyelu is more of a true center, and that's kind of a dying art in the NBA. If he can come back and find a way to get, a little mid-range jumper in his game, he's going to improve his prospects. I don't know if he'll ever be more than a true center, but they could use that to their advantage. But if I had to, go with my gut, gun to my head right now, I would say that they've played their last games with the Gators.
My concern is if Condon leaves and Chinyelu doesn't want to be part of a rebuild, which at that point, would kind of be a rebuild without Houck and Condon, at least on the front court. Does he pull a Denzel Aberdeen and go to the highest bidder? Micah Handlockton's trying to get another year of eligibility. Quickly, what are his chances?
I don't know. I can't project the NCAA. I mean, predicting the NCAA, that's a surefire way to lose money if you're going to try and make a guess on what they're going to do. With all the eligibility cases out there, from Charles Bediako and Najee at Baylor and every situation that you're seeing unfold in college basketball. Personally, my opinion here, I would love to see the NCAA do the right thing and give a guy another year of eligibility, give him a 5th year in 5 years, who sacrificed a year of eligibility for all the right reasons, right? Came back to win a national championship, gave up a year for himself. Don't make that a situation where guys could be dissuaded in the future for wanting to come back and play for their college teams rather than preserve their own self-interest. We're already in a very preserving self-interest era of college sports in general. A guy like Micah Handlockton, what he did is selfless and it deserves to be rewarded. I hope the NCAA does the right thing, but I feel for him because he had to head into the NCAA tournament each game there, not knowing if it could be his last, not just with his current teammates, but in college. That's a tough situation to be in.
Final moments, Graham Hall, 24/7 Sports, Swamp 247. We mentioned spring football is wrapping up for John Summerall in year number 1. You were out at practice earlier today. I keep hearing it's different, Graham. It's different. Now, everybody says that with a new head coach. You tell me, does it look different than what we saw the last 4 years with Billy Napier?
Yeah, there's some different aspects. Now, let's see how well it translates to the field, right? I mean, they have 50 new players, a whole new coaching staff. Let's see how it unfolds. They have to figure out who their starting quarterback is going to be. But you're seeing a lot of urgency. You're seeing the guys being coached tough, not just from Gerald Chapman, which is well documented, but you're seeing John Summerall's injury, Evan McKissick's energy out there. If that can translate to success and these guys can be more physically and mentally tough, then you got to feel good about Florida's chances of potentially doubling up their wins from the 2025 season. This schedule is much more manageable. We'll see how it all unfolds. There are some new aspects, certainly. We've seen some team periods which look a little bit more intentional, I guess you could say. They start with special teams, which I can't remember the last time we saw during the limited windows. We're getting much more access than we got in recent years. We used to get maybe 8 to 12 minutes, 15 if we were lucky under Billy Napier. Now we're getting 40 minutes during practice out there. So we can come away with a few more impressions. They're working on special teams at a higher rate. So if you're a Florida fan who was griping about all the mistakes and miscues and mental errors in the third phase of the game right there, you got to feel better about their chances of cleaning some things up. We're seeing a lot more energy. Billy Napier used to spend time just pretty much from what we saw, again, limited access, watching the quarterbacks. You're seeing John Summerall out there working with the defensive line, working with the linebackers, coaching up wide receivers, working on ball security drills and footwork drills with the running backs. You have a head coach who is taking a head coach oversee role of wanting to coach every position group in Gainesville. So that is what is very noticeable and stands out. And when the spring game rolls around, not this upcoming weekend, but next weekend, all eyes are going to be on what is really the first true quarterback battle in the last 4 or 5 years. I mean, DJ Lagway's job last year was so safe in spring, even though he wasn't throwing. And I kind of got ridiculed for this a little bit when I asked this question, but even the guys in Harrison Bailey and Aiden Warner who were taking first team reps, they never had a chance of winning that starting job. And Billy Napier made that abundantly clear. you now have two quarterbacks in Tramel Jones and Aaron Philo, and Will Griffin and Aiden Warner are working hard as well. But you have two quarterbacks in Philo and Jones who are pretty much neck and neck with no separation. Now, the old saying is if you have two quarterbacks, you don't have one. Maybe I could understand that being empty perspective and you want to see some separation at some point. That occurs in spring. Whether that occurs in fall camp remains to be seen. But you're going to see a true quarterback battle when Florida takes the field at Ben Hill Griffin Stadium on April 11th. And that alone to me is exciting because we can actually see the quarterbacks in a live team setting, see how they fare, and maybe start making these great predictions and projections before the season starts to get, closer and closer here in August and into September.
Graham, tell the Gator fans over here in Jacksonville about Swamp 247 and the coverage you guys will have, not only with basketball, not only with baseball, but obviously with football as spring football rounds itself out.
Yeah, we have a fantastic community at Swamp 247. We're running a 50% off promo right now. We would love for you to join our community, talk all things Florida, basketball, baseball, recruiting, you name it. Recruiting is about to start picking up for Florida as well. We'll be covering the transfer portal with basketball when it opens. We'll keep tracking the guys who are returning or departing, like Olivier Rioux, who enters the portal on Tuesday morning. We'll keep tracking all that, discussing it over. We'll have spring camp updates, you name it. We had an insider report from the scrimmage. If you want more information, that is over there for our VIP subscribers. And, man, it's always a good time talking all things ball with you, man. We got to do it again soon.
Graham Hall, 24/7 Sports, Swamp 247. Graham, thank you so much. We'll do it again soon, pal.
Pleasure's all mine. Y'all take care over there.
And thank you to Graham Hall, 24/7 Sports, Swamp 247, for joining us tonight here on Hacker After Dark as we're taking a look at the Gator basketball team. And look, still the fallout from losing to Iowa, but a lot of good news, right? You got all these guys coming back, Boogie Flan, Urban Klabshar, Isaiah Brown, Alex Lloyd. Olivier Rioux did announce he's going into the portal. Still obviously awaiting word about Tommy Houck, Alex Condon, and Ruben Chinyulu's future, but so far so good early on here for the Florida Gator basketball team in the offseason. John Summerall beginning to wrap up summer drills. They go with the orange and blue game next weekend, so we got about, 10 days left, I guess, of spring football, year number one of the spring for John Summerall, and it'll be all eyes towards summer conditioning and then fall camp as Summerall gets ready to be the coach of the Gators for the first time here in 2026. And Gator baseball, look, except for the bad loss to JU last night. By the way, congratulations to Jacksonville University. What a win for them. But Florida was coming off a victory over Florida State, had also just swept a top 10 Arkansas team. So up and down, but mostly up for Florida early on here, and actually not even really early anymore. We're getting very close to the halfway point already, if you can believe that, of the college baseball season. So thank you to Graham Hall of 24/7 Sports, Swamp 247. We obviously spent some time on the NFL draft 3 weeks from tomorrow, if you can believe that. 3 weeks from tomorrow, round number one. The Jaguars currently sit with 11 draft picks total in this year's draft. No first rounder for the first time in franchise history, but what they do have are 4 picks inside the top 100. And then it was a big day earlier down in Orlando as Mayor Donna Deegan, Jaguar owner Shad Khan, team president Mark Lamping, Tony Baselli, and many other folks in the Jaguar brass were down in Orlando with all of their city officials as well to formally announce that the Jaguars' 2027 home schedule, preseason and regular season, and any potential postseason games will be played at Camping World Stadium in Orlando. Again, Orlando is kind of like my second home. I have a lot of family in the Lakeland, Winter Haven, Lake Wales area. You guys know that I go to Disney with Little Hack a bunch. So I'm in Orlando a lot. I'm very excited for our neighbors in Orlando to get the Jaguars for 2027. And I think it'll be a great relationship between Orlando and the city of Jacksonville. Well, that will just about do it, man. Very, very busy Wednesday night edition of Hacker After Dark. We certainly appreciate you guys hanging out with us here on 1010XL and on 92.5 FM. And we have a ton of people to thank. Again, Graham Hall, 24/7 Sports, Swamp 247 down in Gainesville. Thank you to Eric Edholm of NFL.com for talking draft with us tonight. Again, the draft 3 weeks from tomorrow night. And then back in hour number 1, we did go down to Orlando. Like I said, Orlando is kind of a second home for me. I'm a big fan of that area. Alex Walker is the sports director of WFTV in Orlando, and Alex joined us tonight to give us kind of a scene set on the reaction for folks down in Orlando about the Jaguars making their way there in 2027. Now, we will be back tomorrow a little earlier. We're in the 6 o'clock time frame tomorrow, so Hacker After Dark from 6 o'clock to 8 o'clock here on 1010XL, and we do hope that you join us then. Aaron Williams was your producer tonight. Aaron, great job as always. I'm the Hacker Ryan Green. And again, Jacksonville, thank you for spending part of your Wednesday evening with us right here on Hacker After Dark, on 1010XL, and on 92.5 FM. So for all of us here on HAD, have a terrific remainder of your Wednesday evening, and we will talk to you tomorrow evening on a Thursday beginning at 6 o'clock. Until then, good night, Jacksonville.
Taylor Dahl.
I'm one of you. I'm a vision.